purposes. All right. So first of all, I want to say hello to everyone out there that's watching us live. I've got two amazing, amazing gents with me, Deveraux and July Jackson, who are the co-founders of their own skincare products. And they've come to me because they've worked with me in the past, and their mom is an avid client of mine as well. And so I said to them, look, I can give you guys your answers now and invest with me, or I'll give it to you in a generalized way to help not only yourselves, but also of others. So Dominique, I said July or Deveraux, one of you guys. So just, you guys basically said, if I may, I'm going to summarize for everybody, and then we're going to get to your answers, because I want to see if I heard you correctly. So basically what you said was you and your brother, because you're brothers, right?
Yes. Yep.
You guys basically co-created the skincare product. And what's the name of the skincare product one more time?
Pure in Nature Skincare.
Pure in Nature Skincare. So by the way, if you need some skin products out there that helps you make you glow, and I'm talking to my fabulous women's out there, you know, glow, then this is something you may want to chit chat with. But they're in what we call that startup phase, right? So they're kind of like, they're hitting the ball running. They've already done a few things to start that process, right? Like they mentioned, they created the LLC, they gave the business a name, they're already in the process. And I think you guys mentioned you already created a business account. So far, so good. Now I have some important
applied for trademarks as well for our product.
And the trademarks as well. So you can see how they are making the intention, which is important, to create money, which is very important, right? Because the IRS says that if we are in the intention of creating money, then we're going to unlock a lot of tax deductions that are allowed under law as a partnership. So I want to just let you guys know that you formed an LLC. And do you guys know why you formed an LLC?
For liability purposes.
Yes. And it turns out that there's a tax issue here too. And in fact, in my program, rapidtaxsavingsformula.com, I actually go into details about what these entity choices mean, not only from a legal perspective, but from a tax perspective. So I'm glad, because you guys are the first partners that I've actually talked to before. So let's talk about that. My question for you is, do you guys have a partnership agreement between the both of you when you started this company?
Do we have a written partnership agreement? We don't have a written partnership agreement. We have a verbal partnership agreement. We're 50-50 on the LLC and 50-50 as far as the revenue or the income or whatever.
Okay, well, I guess this video could always be used as evidence down the road, but what I would highly recommend, guys, is that even though you're brothers and you love each other, we know this, blood is blood, right? As your advisor, it's imperative that you write this shit down. Write it down on a piece of paper, even if it's on a napkin, but write it down and sign it, both of you. Because the truth is that we have to sometimes think about the negative stuff that can come up down the road, right? Like maybe you guys won't agree on certain things, or maybe you're going to be like, well, I'm going to take this in a whole new direction or whatever. And the fallout can be catastrophic to you both at a personal level and at a business level. And just like in the Bible, I don't remember the exact in the Bible where, but I remember as a child growing up, it was about, I think it was King Solomon or something, and they were fighting over the baby. Do you remember this story?
And they cut the baby in half.
Yeah. They sure did, right? He was like, fine, you both want this baby, right? So imagine that's your business. You guys kind of gave birth to a business. You don't even know that, but you did, right? And you also got married, just so you know, right? The only place we can actually commit incest is through business, right? So you got married and had a baby, right? So here's the thing, right? You guys fall apart for whatever reason. Uncle Sam's going to go, well, I don't care. It's going to be split down the middle 50-50. So imagine if you put in debt, or if you have assets or profits or whatever, and that's not spelled out, it's just going to be an automatic, everything goes in a separate way. So you want to really talk about that. What does it mean to be partners in your business, right? What are you both bringing? What are your job functions going to be, right? Deveraux, what is going to be your function? And July, what's going to be your function? And what does that look like? When are you guys going to contribute contributions, which is you are giving birth to the company. You're giving the company something, right? Cash, money, Maybe you're giving it a building, or maybe you're giving it supplies, or you're giving it equipment, or you're giving it something so that it can be born. So you guys are kind of like daddies right now. Both of you are papas. All right.
And you called this the actual term for it was a partnership agreement.
Yes. The legal term is called a partnership agreement. And yes, you could get a lawyer involved if you want to, right? And as a professional, I have to say that to you. But what I can also share is that so long as it's on a piece of paper, even if it's handwritten and you both are signing on it, and if you really want to go to a notary and have them notarize it, you could do that, but you want to make it legal. And inside that partnership agreement, you're going to talk about the investors, right? Because that's what you also brought up was, well, we got people willing to give us money, honey.
They already have.
Right. And that's perfect. So then you have to ask the question, are these people becoming partners? Now, are you having a polyamorous relationship with them?
Nope.
Right? Or are they strictly just kind of like maybe lending you the money and then you're going to pay them back with interest?
And that was really the question that we had. That was one of the 2 or 3 questions that we had for you was, how should we treat those invested funds? Is it a loan? Because we're not sharing partnership or ownership of the LLC with these people that are investing.
We plan on giving them a return.
You do. So let's talk about that. So an investor, for those people who are investors legit, like that's their thing, like this is the question they're asking themselves, right? And by the way, it's true of all of us. What's in it for me, right? That's the main question, right? Because we're selfish. Let's be real. We're selfish. And it's always about me. And so they're asking, what's in it for me? So in a way, an investor has 2 options. They can either give you money and become a part owner of your business. So they own a percentage. Maybe they only own 1% or 2% or 100%. I don't know, but they're going to own something. So once again, you're giving them access to your child, right?
Yeah. So in this case, we offer no equity up front. It was just a percentage of return on the amount that they invested.
Okay. So how are they going to get the return back? Are they going to get it back through interest, or are they going to get it back through return of profits?
Through interest.
For interest. Okay. So now let's also be clear here then. So if that is the case, then they're more like a lender. And so if they're a lender, now I don't represent them, but if I was them, I would be having you sign a promissory note that says that I'm lending you X amount of dollars in exchange for X amount of interest back to be paid back over a period of time.
Okay.
All right.
I think we're more doing it as a return on profit, not interest.
Okay,
right?
so spell out the differences if you could do that.
Yeah. So okay, so a lender, right, which is sort of an investor, right? You're putting out money to make money. A lender has no equity in the business, right? They have no control. They have no say. They have nothing other than to say, I'm giving you my money and I'm hoping you're going to pay me back over a period of time with interest, right? Now, as far as the business is concerned, the business will deduct the interest that's paid out to the investors and they'll receive it and they'll pay income tax on the interest. So they have no ownership. They have no say. They have nothing. They're just saying, here's the money with the promise you're going to pay me back with interest. Now, an equity partner is different. An equity partner is saying, I'm going to give you money in exchange for a piece of the pie. So let's say, for example, that they give you, like you're saying, you know, let's say $6,000, right? And they say, Deveraux, for $6,000, I want, you know, 10% interest in the business. And you're like, that's 10% of my profits when I make money. That's 10% of the losses. It's beneficial to them, by the way. 10% of something, right? So they want like physical attachment to the business.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? And by the way, it's way difficult to get rid of them because what if the investor becomes annoying? What if they want to take things in a different direction? Now, granted, they own very little, so they don't really have total control, but they can legally make things a little bit more of a nightmare for you. So you have to kind of really assess those risks. What is the intention? What is the purpose behind the investors? Sometimes investors, again, They want a piece of the pie because they know that what you're offering is very valuable. Take Shark Tank, for example, right? You get the guys that go on there and they'll pitch their product or whatever. And the investors are, if you listen very carefully, they're saying, we're going to give you X amount of dollars for X amount of ownership of the business.
Yeah. Yeah. And in this case, I think our question, because we know for sure that we're not offering equity in the LLC. I think the question that Dominic and I had right now was when you mentioned a percentage of profits versus a return, or what
Interest.
what were the two different choices?
Interest to repay the loan back with interest, or to give you the money, and in exchange, I get a piece of the profit, interest.
Okay. And those are the two questions that we wanted to get explained.
And it's all about risk, and it's all about your goals, right? That's what it all boils down to. And also it's about your mindset. Like, do you believe that it's about collaboration and that others can help you? Or do you believe in, like, I really don't trust a whole lot of people these days, and I'm just willing to keep this myself, but I know that we're capable of repaying you back.
Yeah, that's where we stand.
That's exactly what it is.
Hey, we've used our money to get everything to this point. We have people express interest in investing, so we'll take that money. We'll do what we have to do with it, and the only thing that you know about it is that you're getting this is what we're spending it on, and this is what our plan for the how we're going to grow our company with your investment, and here's your return, and that's it. We're not asking for any input or anything.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we could find another way in which we could structure that, right? I mean, it could still be a passive partner. You can do that, right? Just silently giving you money. But usually when it means someone is going to invest and become a partner or a shareholder in your company, they're also going to expect to take a piece of that pie.
Okay. So we get the investment. Let's just take a round number, $10,000 investment. We have our business account, Pure Nature business account. We just take that $10,000, put it in the business account, and just make sure that we spend from there, whatever we're investing in.
Well, so that's also important too, right? So let's talk about that. So if someone lends you the money, all right, how you spend the money is irrelevant to them legally, right? Because again, they have no control. They're just giving you the money. That's the risk they're taking, right? Now, internally, you and your business partner, right, Deveraux, are going to jointly talk about how you're going to spend that money, right? So that's very different. That's between you guys only. Now, if they become a partner investor, right? So now they own a percentage of the business, they very well might want to know how you're going to spend their money, right? And they probably will give you ideas like, well, you should spend on this equipment, or you should spend it on this or that or whatever, right? So it's all about like what you want from that person too. So like sometimes some business owners will take on an equity partner. That's what we would call you guys, equity partner. Maybe because this person has grown companies from zero to billions of dollars, right? They're going to want a stake in that because they're going to want back a piece of that pie. If they have no interest in the pie, they're going to lend you the money.
Okay.
Now, from a tax perspective, loans that you receive, money that's given to you as a loan, is non-taxable because it's not revenue, right? They didn't buy something from you. They gave it to you to use it in your business in a different way. So it's not revenue. Therefore, it's non-taxable to you. So now my question for you is, who's tracking your books? Who's doing your financial statements?
We're just
us.
Yeah,
all
we're
right.
just checking those.
So what I would recommend you guys do, if you don't have it now, is get into an accounting software of some kind. I don't get any kickbacks for this, but like, for example, we use QuickBooks Online. Like I would get that ball rolling and starting in that. So some of those startup funds can be used to pay for some of these basic things that you need to really get started and get going. Now, here's another thing I'm going to share with you guys. When we start a business, we automatically think that we're going to get all these losses on our tax return. And by the way, because you two are not married legally, right? Couldn't anyways if you wanted to, but because you're not legally married at a civil level, you have a separate tax return that you're going to file called a 1065. It's a partnership return. And that partnership return is going to spit out this thing called a K1. It's the summary of all the partnership activity for the whole year. And each of you is going to pick up a portion, 50%, because that's what you both just said, 50-50. So the income will be split 50. If there's net losses, it will be split 50. If there's capital or distributions, which is a fancy word for saying the return of profits first, then that would be split 50-50. So there's complexity here in what you're going to do, but just know that we're going to use a form called a 1065, and that's how you're going to split your losses and your income. And because you both are actively participating in this business, those losses will actually help to offset your other income. For example, your side job as a W-2 earner working wherever you might be working, for example. So that's why an investor might want to come in and say, you know, July and Deveraux, I'll give you 10 grand, but I want 10% of your business, because they know they're going to be able to tap into 10% of those losses, which are usually created in the first 5 years of business. So they too are thinking about their own tax life.
Is that only if we give them equity? They get to share that?
Yes.
Oh. Okay. So can you say here's equity for a certain amount of time until we give you your investment back, and then once you give equity, you give equity.
You can buy them out. You could say we'll buy you out later, right? So we could say we'll keep you on as a partner. That's as they are, right? Equity partner. And you can set terms like 5 years, 10 years, whatever. But just know you're going to have to buy them out. That's how it works. So the question then becomes, does the partnership have the cash to buy them out? And if you put it into the partnership agreement, right, that's a binding contract. And so if you say, well, we'll pay out the partners in 5 years when we're profitable or whatever, they're going to expect a huge return of that pie, right? Potentially. So if they give you 10 G's over the next 5 years, they're going to want to get back, you know, let's say, I don't know, 60 grand or whatever. So the question is, do you have 60 grand in the bank when that time comes to execute that part of the contract?
Okay, so let's say we put the $10,000 in the bank account that we got invested, and then I go to the gas station, swipe the card to get gas. I use the money from the investment. Normally, we save that receipt to write it off. Since this is not taxable income, do we still have to worry about that? That might sound like a question, but I just don't understand.
Yes. Okay. So yes and yes. So what we have to understand is that the IRS takes the position that all money coming into a business account or your personal account for that matter, which is why right now the infrastructure bill that Congress wants to sign into law is flawed, because it wants to put the banks in charge of reporting your transactions to the IRS.
I saw that, yeah.
Right? So the IRS has a duty to what? Make money. Right? Now, it also is here to help us as business owners. So let's be real now, right? There's a duality of forces playing against us and with us. But I digress. So what's going to happen is that money coming in, that 10 G's, right? It's an investment or it's a loan. Either way you look at it, it's non-taxable. But that doesn't preclude you from acquiring the costs that are necessary to make this business successful. So that's great. Like you said, you go buy fuel for your vehicles, which, by the way, that's a complicated topic for another day. Or, for example, you hire me, right? Tax consultants, the attorneys, the website designers, all the people that you need to get this thing going, right? That's where you're going to spend your money. Now, Uncle Sam is very clear, and he says that you really cannot take all those deductions and write it all off like you want to. There's limiters in place. And you can only deduct up to certain amounts. And then you have to carry the rest over time over each period of year, right? So this is how government prevents people from starting businesses that don't really go anywhere, right? And so he basically takes the position and says, look, all those expenses you're incurring, which would normally create a loss, which would normally benefit you, there's a benefit there, but it's going to be limited until something magical happens. And that is the
Get money.
acquisition of your first client. The moment that you acquire your first customer and they buy your product from you and you have that grand opening, right? It unlocks the deductions 100% versus being limited.
Now,
Okay. So
that grand opening, because that's something that we talked about. You're talking about, is that literal? Like you have to have a grand opening in order to see
No, I mean, no, but you know, you get your first client. And so,
okay. All right. Go ahead, Deveraux.
So I want to make sure that you said something. I want to make sure that I understood it. So you said whether it's an investment, whether it's a loan or whatever, it's that part is non-taxable, right?
at the moment of inception, correct.
Okay. So if we take our investment in this hypothetical scenario, it is $10,000. We take that, we put that into our business account. And whether we're spending it on gas, whether we're spending it on office equipment, whether we're spending it on the raw material to produce our products, those are losses. Once we have secured our first client, those we can all count as losses, right?
Yes, and that's and by the way, I should say that this is extremely oversimplified.
Okay.
Extremely oversimplified. But it's not. It is not. But I digress. But yes, you are correct in that sense. So the money coming into the checking account, because it's actually an investor or a loan money coming in, right? So that's not revenue because you didn't sell a product or a service. So that's non-taxable. This money where you spend it in order to build your business could potentially be a deduction. So what I mean by that is, let's say, for example, a deduction would be, again, the acquisition of my services. And so you're like, JB, I want you to create a plan for us, blah, blah, blah. And then I charge you for it, whatever, right? That's a deduction, right? That's because it's ordinary and it's necessary. It's ordinary for business owners to hire consultants. It's necessary to hire consultants in order to help them make money. So that makes sense, right? So that's a deduction versus, let's say, for example, you say, well, I'm going to take the 10,000 and instead of investing it in the places I need to grow my business, I put it in my pocket. I take it out of the till. Or go get a lot of
massages.
Say that again.
Or go get $10,000 worth of massages.
Exactly, right? That's not a deduction. No losses allowed. Now, by the way, there's a loophole there, but we can talk about that later. So the point is that it's all about the nature in which we're converting the currency, right? The money.
Yeah.
So let's say we got a $1 million investment. What is there a limit on what that initial investment can be?
It could be anything what someone's willing to give you.
Oh, okay. So here's another question that just came. Oh, are you done, Deveraux?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, so here's another question that, like, we're talking about investing in the money and we take deductions out. So if we were to do the work ourselves, let's say we were like, you know what, I'm gonna do the work of
designing a website.
Let's say building a website, and we didn't hire a professional, but we did it ourselves and we charge ourselves as a professional. Is that allowed?
It's a huge depends. You see the face I'm making?
I can see, yeah.
Okay, so it depends. Because remember that when we decided to give birth to our companies, right? Think about this analogy. Now, are you guys dads? I think Deveraux, I know you're a dad.
Yeah, we both are.
You both are dads. Okay. So would you go to your newborn babies and go, baby, pay me for being your dad?
Hey, we're Jacksons. Of course we would.
Yeah. If I wasn't before, I'm doing that now.
Yeah.
Right. But do we normally go to our kids and be like, you got to pay me for being your dad? No, right? You're still going to take care of them, right? You're still going to feed them and change their diapers and make sure they're taken care of, right?
Right.
You're still going to do that. And you're not going to charge them, right? You're doing it for the love, right? You're doing it for the passion. You're doing it because you want to see them to be these amazing grown-up adults.
Right.
And that's what you're doing with this newborn baby, your skincare company.
Okay.
So
You said it depends.
any compensation from that, we would have to come to an agreement on, like, let's say, like if Dominique designed a website, or if he built something that we wanted, that we otherwise would have to contract out to somebody. If to get compensation for that, me and him would have to come to some kind of written agreement on how much that's worth, and then I would have to pay him out of our profit.
Yes
my
and
profit.
no. Yes and no. So let's talk about a partnership and how we get paid, right? That is the question. That's a great question. In fact, it's true too if you're a sole proprietor or a single member LLC. So you get paid through what we call, first initially it's called a distribution. And I go over this in detail in rapidtaxsavingsformula.com. And I actually explain that in detail what distributions mean. But we take out distributions as members of our companies, or being a partner in our company. We take out a distribution, and there's rules around that. The other way that you pay yourself as a partner is called a partnership guaranteed payment. So it's a guaranteed partner payment. It's a partnership guaranteed partner payment, partnership payment. And essentially the way that works is just like what you said, Deveraux, is that in the partnership agreement, you're going to agree to compensate the partners at an X amount of rate at an X amount of time. Now, here's the catch, all right? And it's a huge catch. So without proper tax planning, you could be like one of my clients that was told that he was going to be paid guaranteed partnership payments to the tune of about $100,000, but he was unaware of the tax consequences. And so for years, he did this unknowingly, realizing that he was accumulating thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of dollars now in back tax problems.
Because that was actually, he was being taxed personally for the guaranteed partner payment.
Correct. And when that happens, you are subjected to self-employment tax, and you're also subjected to ordinary income tax. It's true too of you as a regular partner. Don't get me wrong, you can't get out of that. You just can't. But my point is that partnership agreements, guaranteed partner payments are subject to tax. So that, although that sounds tempting, like, okay, let's just pay ourselves then to do the job, got to be careful. And there's a time for that. I'm not saying not to do it. I'm just saying there's a calculated time in which to make that decision. So originally, like I said right now, you just gave birth to a company. It's helpless. And it needs its daddies to help it to become amazing. And so you're going to put in your blood, your sweat, and your tears to make it successful. And eventually, when it gets older, like my 19-year-old JB Financial, when it gets older, it's going to turn around and it will take care of you both. But not in the beginning, it won't. And that's what a lot of entrepreneurs, that's the mistake they make, is they think, oh, I'll just go make a business, and then I'm going to make a whole bunch of money right away. And the truth is, it's strategic.
Okay, that makes sense.
Does that help you answer your questions, guys?
No, yeah, you did more than answer the questions that we came with, because we came with a set of questions, but in talking, it's like, okay, you've opened our eyes to a lot of different things. So, but do we have any other questions, Deveraux, like that we originally had?
Yeah. So I had three. You answered the one about the invested funds, how to deposit that and how to use it. Thank you for that one. The business purchases using our personal account. So the one I really want to go over was, so our relationship with you. I know, like you mentioned before, I've used you for my personal, and actually when I was doing personal training, I use you for my business and personal taxes for the last
few years now.
I think maybe 6 years. So now with pure nature, the nature of our relationship with you, is it just the annual when we're doing our personal income taxes, we're also doing the business taxes as well? Or is that going to change, or should that change?
Yeah, so the dynamic of engagement is different. And so I'm glad you brought that up because it's actually a very important concept. So in general, when we think about our businesses, we know we have to file tax returns. In fact, we got to file a minimum for an individual, right? Like a W-2 needs to have to do it. So most taxpayers, because they don't own a business, they just file their taxes at year end and they come to a guy like me who does like, okay, yes, we'll do your personal returns. And we file it. And it's called tax preparation. And if we think about even you as a business owner and all the other business owners out there, if we think about the layers of service in which we provide, that will help us to understand our engagement with each other, right? So the way I like to say it is tax preparation is the lowest level of engagement with us. So we're just taking the information of your whole entire life for the whole year, and we're preparing the tax return based on that information. So I'm not giving you advice. I can't tell you how to do things. I can't do any of that actually, because I'm governed by a very special rule in the code called Circular 230. And as an IRS enrolled agent, my license prohibits me from giving you tax advice once the year is over, because that's called an avoidance of tax, right? So we can't do that. So instead, we have to work with you now for 2021 to make an impact. So that's a different level of service. So when you come to me at year end, so if you were to come to me in February of 22 and you go, Jonathan, I'm ready now for you to do my taxes for 21, but oh, by the way, help me save taxes. I go, I can't. You're hiring me to prepare your returns based on the information provided by you. I can't do anything else. You're on your own. And because of that, our pricing is different, right? It's going to be a lower end price because I can't give you value other than preparing the return and making sure it's right and accurate. Now, the second layer, and this is why I really get paid throughout the year, is the advisory and the consulting side of it, which you literally are just experiencing it right now. And I, of course, gave you your answers, but very generalized, right? Notice I didn't give you specific answers. I gave it generalized. It helps you, don't get me wrong, and it helps the viewers as well. But at the consultation level, what happens is that we unlock a lot of the other tax structures and tax deductions and all that other fun stuff that helps you to mitigate your taxes today. So for example, when you say to me, Jonathan, do I have investors or should I borrow the money? When you pay me for a consultation as your advisor, which is a much higher engagement level, right? Which means the investment's going to be higher as well. I'm able to give you my exact thoughts based on tax law. So I'm going to say, well, what are your guys' goals? Right? Depends on your goals. And then I'm going to formulate that and I'm going to give you the exact answer, but it's going to fall under consultation and advisory services. So a long time ago, I realized that guys like you, women like you, right? They come in for tax prep work, but what they really need is me throughout the year to be that consultant and that advisor. And so that's why, for example, I created rapidtaxsavingsformula.com as an entry level. So I would highly suggest that you guys come and be students of mine through Rapid, because I'll answer even more questions for you. And again, get you to thinking more about this business concept and how it works. And then we upgrade you into one of our packages. So what I realized is, again, you guys need tax prep work. You guys need bookkeeping work. You need CFO work, right? Like you need a lot when you start this business. So I realized that that's why I package everything together. And I have two different packages. I offer something called the Freedom Support Package, which basically is time access to me once a quarter and access to our Rapid program. It also provides tax prep work at year end. And it also provides what we call CFO review, meaning you guys are going to do your own bookkeeping, but we're going to make sure you're doing it correctly. Does that make sense?
And that was once a quarter, you said?
Once a quarter. Then my other program I have, which is called the Bengal Experience. Thank you to my 9th and 12th graders when I taught English, the Bengal Experience. This is access to me now monthly. So once a month, you get access to me and we talk like right now, like you and I were just chatting, well, it's me chatting, but we're chatting, right? It's the moment to bring your questions and your concerns about your business. Maybe surprisingly, people tell me personal things that actually ties into the business, right? So it's an opportunity.
What
for
was this one called?
The Bengal Experience.
Bengal Experience. Gotcha.
The Bengal Experience. And it's access to me. And here's another beautiful part. It's unlimited answers to your tax questions. And that's key. That's really important, because as we dig more and more about your business, more and more questions are going to pop up. I mean, just think about today, right now, with you guys, with me, how many questions came up in the process of talking, right? So it's unlimited access. You still get rapid, of course, you have to do that. And you still do we still prepare all the returns for you, right? For your business and yourselves. And then this is the level where it changes. We now do the accounting for you. So you don't have to worry about where things get categorized and how they get categorized. It's all done for you. And the way that I price these services out is going to be dependent on the value in which I bring to the business. So to give you an idea, we just closed a deal where we actually, it was in the first quarter. It's the biggest one year to date. Granted, they're $1 million plus company, but we were able to actually get back in their pocket physically, like get back into their bank account, over $300,000. Right?
But you clap for that one. Wow.
And you know, the Bengal Experience, they paid me a lovely piece of penny for that, to make that happen for them. Does that make sense? So as much as I would love to say, oh yeah, it's only X amount of dollars per year, which we have minimums, we actually are going to base it on that value that we're going to bring to the client. So that's how it works when you work with me. And this is why, as you know, I only work with very few clients on purpose, because it's me, it's my time that I'm giving to you.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so you drew a distinction. You mentioned a couple of things. So Freedom Support and the Bengal Experience were the consultation and advisory levels of engagement, right?
Yes.
And then you mentioned two different things when you said the rapid tax savings. That's where you're talking about the guaranteed partner payment. And there was another one you said rapid tax. Something I didn't catch the name.
So my program is called rapidtaxsavingsformula.com.
Got you. Okay. Rapid tax saving formula.
Yes. And it's an online program. I teach it live right now. So I still teach it live because I try to gear it towards you, my students. But I'm actually in the process of automating it here pretty soon. So you probably want to sign up and take the next live class and take advantage of that. But otherwise, yeah, we're in the process of trying to make that automated, so that again,
are you recording those classes?
We do record them. Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes. And student participation is highly encouraged. That's how we build the class. And like you're asking questions like this, we're going to do it in the class under a different structure, and more specific answers to your questions.
Okay. Nick, did you have any, or July, did you have any other questions? I don't know if he dropped off.
Yeah, he's muted.
Okay. I didn't even know I was muted. But no, I my wheels are just turning a lot right now. But I don't have any questions right now. But I'm just glad that we talked to you, Jonathan, because now we have a good direction to go in. And I like the fact that you broke down preparation versus
advisory and consultation services.
Advisory and consultation, because it's like you don't want to. The reason why we wanted to talk to you is because we don't want to get down to tax time and be like, you could have just done it this way the whole year. You would have got 10,000 back. Now you owe 5,000. So we're definitely going to be using you for just for advisory and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's something to take a look at. And so I know, luckily, because like Deveraux, like I have all your stuff because you're an existing tax prep client. And like July, I don't think I have your information. But what I will do is I will actually put together what we call a customized tax roadmap. I forgot to mention that's part of our packages. But what I like to do is I like to do it as a preliminary analysis. So what I do is I'll look at, like Deveraux, I'll look at your information, July, you're going to upload and give us your information to our secure portal. And then you will have another conversation offline when no one will listen to us. And you're going to share with me, like, what are your anticipated investments, right? Your costs, right? Your expenses, how we're going to do this. And then I'll go back to the drawing board and I will then formulate a plan. And the way that I work, and by the way, if you're an accountant watching this episode, this is how you price people. So what I do next is I say, okay, so July and Deveraux, without me, this is your tax bill, baby. This is your anticipated tax bill. But when you work with me, this is what your new tax bill is going to be. And this is your investment with me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like you said, you're not charging a flat fee. You're charging based off of the value that you bring to our endeavor.
Yes.
And that makes perfect sense. That's almost like equity.
Yes, you nailed it. The difference is, Deveraux, is I don't want a percentage of your business in terms of I don't
want to take any losses with us.
I got my own losses.
I need to go get.
And by the way, I don't know if you guys have thought of this. I'm not a sales coach yet, but I don't know if you have thought about who your ideal market is and who your ideal client is. But I know that would be one thing that I wish I was told many years ago, was to figure out who I wanted in my, like, who I wanted to attract to my business, who I want to engage business with. Now I'm very clear. And that is, and the world should know this, right? That I service primarily healers, intuitives, and speakers, women, and a few good men like yourselves, entrepreneurs through what I call the darkness of making money while shredding their taxes and shining the light to business financial happiness.
That's beautiful. How long did you work on articulating that the way that you did?
My little intro, my little elevator pitch.
Yes, seriously.
Well, I have
that narrows it down. That narrows it down for you and for the people that are hoping to consult with you.
Yes.
You know, if they don't fit that, they might not be. You might not be the best fit for them, and they might not be the best fit for you. You know,
correct.
So you can go deeper with the people that you do actually fit with.
Yes. Initially, all business ownership, we have to talk about that when you guys, now that because you guys just gave birth, right? Like, you just gave birth, and I use this analogy in my class. And I like to say that babies eat a lot of money and they poop out a lot of expenses, right? That's what they do. And they're constantly hungry. So in the beginning, you're like a mama bird, right? Like, you're gonna go fishing for all kinds of fish. It doesn't matter what kind of fish it is. You're gonna go get fishes because your baby's hungry, right? And it poops. That's what it does. So eventually, as the baby gets older, you can start narrowing down the type of fish you want, right? Maybe I don't want guppies anymore. Maybe I'm waiting for sharks and whales and so forth and so on, right? So it works in the same way. And how I got to decide that I work with primarily women and a few good men is by me reflecting upon my own life and all of my life experiences, from growing up extremely poor to women always, like my cousins are all women, and they protected me a lot from the guys that try to beat me up after school, you know. Or, for example, my teachers who were all women who put extra time into my life, or my mother for giving birth to me, for goodness sakes, right? So it's just, for me, it was always women. And what I realized about myself is that I actually have a woman's heart. I think like a woman in many ways. And I embrace that and I accept that. And here's another thing too, right? It's about stepping into our authenticity of who we are and not trying to be something we're not. And so that also helps us to define who our ideal client is. And for me, like I just said, it's women and a few good men. And then I had to ask myself, like, well, what is it that they mean? Like, what is their pain, right? What is your struggle? Deveraux and July, I know your struggles already because I hear it all the time, right? Your struggle, your fears are doing it right, not getting caught, not going to jail, not paying too much in taxes, right? Am I right? Your job is like, I want to make sure that we're on par. So I go, okay, well, what is that? You know what I mean? Like, what is that? And of course, a lot of my clients, they always talk about the fear of making money, right? They always say like, oh, I don't want to charge too much, or, oh, I'm going to get some discounts, or I'm going to do that. And I go, why? And they go, oh, because I don't want to pay a lot of taxes. Well, let's fix that. Let's switch that. Why don't we charge our value and still pay an effective tax rate of the teens versus not? And so that's how I got to that. And then what I do a lot is I have a magic book, not here with me, it's at home now, but it's basically a journal. And what I do is I just draw and I tap into universe, right? I follow my intuition. It's subtle. It's very subtle, but intuition is always guiding us. Like, for example, you guys made this appointment with me today. I had no idea we're going to go live on Facebook, for example.
Yeah,
right?
me either.
I had no idea. But what I can tell you is that this is the way in which intuition and the way universe works, is it guides us and pushes us. And so that's how I do it. I just go, okay, well, what am I trying to accomplish? And I allow my intuition to say it. And then once I do, I own it and I run away with it. If we're perfectionists, which I know some people can be, we tend to hold back. Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know if I'm going to say that. Oh, I'm not going to do that. But sometimes we have to be brave enough to take a leap of faith and to walk with what we call confidence, right? Walking with faith and believing that what we're about to do is about to change our life for the better.
Yeah, and that's really the space that that we have stepped into. And I hear what you're saying, and reading in between the lines is like you want to be able to, and this is really any entrepreneur, we want to be able to provide a service or product that resonates with some part of the world. And it's easier to do that if we're tapping into our own experience because it's an authentic outlay of energy.
Yes.
Right. So for us, well, like you use your own example, you being raised around your female cousins, right? And so you naturally resonate more with females. And so you, by partnering and taking on female clients, you're able to really dive in with your whole heart, right? As opposed to just casting a wider net, and some of those potential clients being completely I don't know what the right term is, but just the reciprocal energy is not there, you know? So I definitely understand that. And me and my brother in July, in diving into pure nature, we have identified who we resonate with. So that, you know, we both
who do
have
you resonate
past,
with? Let people know.
right now, flight attendants and people with skin conditions. So, and that encapsulates me and Dominic right there, you
Love
know? So anyway, I wanted to say that I really understand what you're saying.
It's about alignment, right? It's about us being on that same vibrational plane. And that's what I also know to be true. You know, sometimes we get offended when people say no to us. They go, oh, no, I don't want your services, or they're not willing to move forward. And, you know, we can beat ourselves up as the business owner secretly, right? Like, oh, I messed up the deal. I could have sold, you know, blah, 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 whatever. And what we just have to remember is that not everybody is vibrating like we are. And so everyone's going to start dancing to our drum beat. And that's how we all get along. And I'll ask you, Deveraux, I'll share with you what one of my sales coaches told me. Shout out to Chevelle McPherson. She's badass. And she said to me, you know, we really have to think about like, who is that client? Who are they? And our messaging is always directed towards that person. And in my case, I already know who it's a her. And actually, I drew this out with my other business coach. Her name is Michelle Weinstein. So Michelle, shout out to you. And I actually wrote it out. So again, one more time, guys, write it out. And in my case, I gave her a name, right? You have to give it a name, give that person a name. And so I did. I gave her a name. Her name is Tiffany Diamonds. So if your name is Tiffany Diamonds out of irony, hit me up. So Tiffany Diamonds is her name, right? And I know that she's a woman, and I know that she's a heart-centered person. She's all about healing and intuition and all other fun stuff. And I know that she's over 30 years old. And I also know that she makes at least $150,000 a year in revenue. So like, those are the kind of questions that like, you can just kind of imagine who this client is. Who's that perfect client that's going to always buy your product? Who are they? Narrow it down. And then eventually what happens is all your talks, all your commercials, everything that you're going to do is going to be around attracting this client. Because the truth of the matter is, when you guys become my Bengal Experience clients, you guys will be number
speaking into existence.
You will be number 18. That's it. I work with now, man, if you're an accountant out there listening to this, I only manage 18 clients a year, and we are a multi-six-figure business. Exactly.
That's powerful,
right?
Jonathan.
So anywho's blues, yes, narrow it down and tap into that ASAP. And then, and by the way, you're going to probably shift a little bit. I have, I called myself a business profit tax coach extraordinaire. I was woken up at 11:30 at night by Universe, and I wrote it down and I proclaimed it. I ran with that for a moment, maybe 6-7 months now. I go to an all women event. It's called eWomen Network. So I go, I'm one of the only men allowed in this organization, by the way, which is amazing. It's an honor. So I go and I get inspired yet again. And guess what now my new title is?
What's your new title, Jonathan?
My new title is I'm a business intuitive.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I've heard of medical intuitives, but that's an interesting concept to mirror over to the business side.
Because it all interlinks, right? Look, my show Naked Tax Talk, which by the way, I got to do some more episodes for, but I digress, right? The tagline there is, it's where we bear down to the naked truth about our personal, business, and monetary lives. Why? Because when you improve upon the self, the business improves because it's a reflection of who we are. And the money, honey, is a reflection of our business and ourselves. And so really, we're kind of where I am taking the concept of personal development and weaving it into our tax lives. Because I know that if I can get you both into that space of power, the light that you are, the money is going to increase. And then when you work with me, the taxes will stay at a reasonable amount. And that's what you want. Why? Because I always say this.
That's powerful, Jonathan. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was going to say, because remember this, right? Our sole reason why we're entrepreneurs, why we were born with this, like your mother is a classic example, right? She's a true entrepreneur and she's a badass at it, right? By the way, shout out to Carmen Johnson of Cutesy. So, right, she's a badass business owner. And when I first met your mom, by the way, she tells the story all the time, so I know I can say it here. When I met her years ago, she was selling her product, right? Which a lot of you now know, well, you guys know because you've helped her. But a lot of my clients who have received my gift baskets, AKA advertising baskets from her, it all is from her. And we had a private one-on-one. And I said to her, I go, would you like for me to share some information with you about how to convert your business and help you take it off? And what I did not realize at that time is that it was Universe that was utilizing me as the vessel to deliver the message. And so I said to your mom, this is what we're going to do. We're going to convert it. Now look at her, right? Taken off. Things are going well, right? The monetary side, the tax side is fantastic. And it's all because it's about tuning in, tapping into, and realizing that we're here to help each other. Here's the truth. You, my friends, were brought here to bring happiness to the world. What is happiness? Happiness is the removal of suffering. People are suffering from skin conditions. People are suffering from other very ailments. You guys are suffering from the fear of tax, right? The fear of having to, right? This is a real pain. And our job is to bring forth happiness by removing that pain.
Okay, and with you saying that, I'm glad you said that, because you said tell people like who we're going after, who's our ideal client. And that goes back to like why we started Pure Nature. And it is to stop suffering, because I'm really into non-toxic stuff. So is Deveraux. So I can't stand to look at ingredients and for skincare, for food or whatever, and just like unnecessary ingredients in there. Like, why are these toxic ingredients and stuff? And I spent years, because I have eczema. So like my skin is so sensitive, it's crazy. Like I have to really be careful what I put on my skin. I spent so many years, like my whole life, looking for the right skincare product, and I was never able to find it. And so that's the reason why we have Pure Nature, because it's like, well, if we can't find it, let's just do it ourselves. So it's non-toxic. It works on my skin. It works on other people who have skin issues, my kids' skin. It works beautifully. It is exactly what I've been looking for my whole life that I wasn't able to find. And we're so passionate about it because of the fact that we know how it works. And I can't wait for everybody to experience the same thing that I've been experiencing, like improving my skin. And there's no toxic ingredients in there. So I feel good putting it on. It's definitely helped me, and I can't wait for everybody else to experience that. People who are out there, I know there's people who are out there that are just like me, like, God, if I could just find something that doesn't have a bunch of junk in it that actually works on my skin. And that's the reason for us creating Pure Nature. And that's the reason why we're so passionate about it, because we know that it works.
And now we're just going to really narrow that down. And I know this to be true, and you guys can talk about it privately, but I know that deep down inside, you know who you want to buy your product. And when you accept that, because that's what it's about, right? It's about accepting it and saying it and vocalizing it. The world's your oyster, friends. And I will caution us by using the word everybody. I used to do the same, guilty as charged, right? I'll do anyone's returns, right? I'll do anybody's. The issue with that is too broad. And so we just narrow, you can pick this apart all the way down to demographics, right? It could be look, it could be sex, it could be gender. That's what that is, gender. It could be race, it could be ethnicity, it could be culture, it could be, right? And we're going to narrow that down because that's who you want to engage with. And then we can come up with a summation of words that describes those people, right? So I say heart-centered. Well, I believe that resonates with a lot of people who go, oh yeah, I'm about relationships. I'm about caring. I'm about partnerships. I'm about, right? That's what that says. So that's also the thing too. You'll just pull up a thesaurus and just use different words that mean the same thing. And eventually what happens is over time, you start practicing it, right? Because you're going to go to networking events, I would imagine. And you're probably going to start doing some online posts, and you're probably going to go on a lot of podcasts and talk shows and things, right, to promote your business. What you'll notice is that you will eventually start creating your message more razor-like. It's like sharpening a knife, right? And the more and more you talk about it, the more and more refined it's going to become. And eventually that will be your exact message. And it's not to say that it doesn't change, because Buddha taught me this. Nothing is permanent in life, right? It is always changing, which is why we can't get too attached. All we can do is go, okay, for right now in this moment, I'm calling myself a business intuitive. I don't know what tomorrow will be. I don't know what next year will be. But for right now, this is the direction I'm heading in. And it's morphing and it's evolving. Why? Because we have a bigger purpose in life. Our vision of who we are is bigger than the office we work in.
Wow.
I like that.
That's right. Yeah. I like that too.
All right, guys, listen, I got to go. But I've had a lot of fun with you guys. And do we have a website we can go to check you out? Or how do we get a hold of you if we want to kind of like connect with you guys?
So our website is purenatureskincare.com.
I'm going to spell that out.
Yes.
Yeah, purenatureskincare.com. You can go buy it there. Our Instagram and Facebook is, well, let's talk about the Instagram and the YouTube, is Pure Nature Skincare. So you can find YouTube and on Instagram, Pure Nature Skincare.
Are you saying pure and or pure N?
Pure is, what happens?
So the website,
Pure in Nature.
The website is pure.
Mm-hmm.
The letter N.
I-N.
In. Yeah.
Okay.
Pure in Nature.
And then the website is pureinnature.com.
It's what is it's pure letter in nature.com.
Got it.
Pure
Okay.
letter. Yeah, that's it.
Perfect. All right. See, by the way, you guys are witnessing like real life right now when we're kind of like figuring this out because you guys just gave birth. Like, how many of us have our babies and we're like, I forgot the diapers. I forgot, right? It happens. It's brand new. You guys are brand new daddies.
Hey, here's one thing before we go, and this might be for a later conversation. It just popped into my head. So at what point do you start moving your expenses, like your car payment, if you're using your home as your office, different things, what at what point do you say, okay, my car payment, I'm moving the car into my business name, and I'm counting that as an expense because I'm using my car to drive around and get clients, to make deliveries, do things like that. Okay. So, well, that's just a question that I have that popped up.
Well, I have to correct the record because I can't let the show end with that statement, which is this. First of all, car payments are not an expense.
Seem like an expense.
I know, because it's cash going out of my damn pocket, but it's not an expense. Okay. A car payment is the return of the principal that you borrowed, just like your investors might lend you the money. It's the return of that loan plus interest. And when it comes to a car, it is so goddamn complex that I won't even talk about it here because it's so complex. But what I would rather say to you is that you use your personal vehicles as you would. And what you do is you submit what we call a mileage reimbursement report back to the partnership. And the partnership reimburses you for that. And there's a special plan that we create that creates it as tax-free income to you, the recipient of that money. Now, as far as everything else, your personal expenses, well, personal expenses are non-deductible. You cannot deduct that from your income, right? So it's a matter of converting what is normally personal into business. And so we have to remember, well, what is an expense? Well, I wrote this in my book called The ABCs of Deductions, an Entrepreneur's Guide to Tax Write-Offs, which you guys can go get on Amazon for $13. And inside this book, I actually talk about when something becomes a deduction inside of your business. Now, I also want to highlight really fast, and earlier in the conversation, one of you, I think, mentioned that you were kind of paying for things out of your own personal pocket, like your own personal credit card, for the benefit of the business. And the way that works from an accounting point of view is that we are essentially contributing money, which is disguised as an expense, really, right, for the benefit of the business. And in exchange, the business has now a deduction on the books, and my partnership equity, what I own, increases because of the contribution. And that will matter later in life when you go to sell the business. Because when you sell the business, you have something called a capital gain problem. Because your business is like an asset, believe it or not. And an asset is something I can put my ass on. So think of it like that, right? Like that's what it is. And so when you sell an asset, Uncle Sam says you're going to pay me for the value for where it's at now. So that's why you need me.
Long story short. That's why we need.
Long story short, the Bengal experience.
All right. So listen, out there, if you're watching this episode right now, live on my Facebook wall, and you've got questions for me, or you yourself are kind of finding yourself in a similar situation, let's hop on a free consultation with me. You can find me jonathanbengal.com. That's B as in boy, ENGEL.com, jonathanbengal.com. If you're interested in becoming a student for Rapid Tax Savings Formula, that's simple, rapidtaxsavingsformula.com. You can also find me on YouTube, youtube.com/Nate Naked Tax Talk. And of course, feel free to get up my book at Amazon, which is The ABCs of Deductions, an Entrepreneur's Guide to Tax Write-Offs. When you're ready to be like a lot of my clients and shred your taxes and make a whole lot of money, babies, let's connect. And until then, thank you so much, Deveraux and July, for being here with Pure in Nature Skincare, for allowing me to give you some tips, and just the tips for now. And eventually, I look forward to really connecting with you guys and changing your lives. And then we're gonna have to do a post-production of what it was like to actually go through the Bengal experience. So until then, toodles noodles. And if you guys out there have questions, you know how to get a hold of me. Oh, you can email me, happiness@jonathanbengal.com. Until then, toodles noodles, and I'm gonna stop the recording.